Oh, and she is lovely, and she is strange. She's amazing in a way that can't be tamed. She knows where she belongs. She's herself and she is strong. That's why I love your mom.
Welcome back to a series of podcasts. I'm James Campion, author, journalist, and my good friend, singer-songwriter Eric Hutchinson has a new record out, Before and After Life. We're going through each song, and we're now on to the fourth track, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And this one's called Why I Love Your Mom. In the previous track, Hope She's Like You, I'm getting that title right? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I hope she's just like you.
That's really just a pentameter thing, so.
Gotta have it, though. Where Eric trying to project on his unborn daughter, Zelda, who, by the way, I just met for the first time today. Beautiful blue eyes, great personality. She smiled at me, or pooped her pants. I don't know, one of the two. And she also has... So you have... What color? Are you blue-eyed, too?
I'm hazel-eyed.
And what is Jill? Blue-eyed?
Jill's blue eyes.
So that's the question.
Right.
Is she going to stay blue-eyed? Because Scarlett was all about the blue eyes until she wasn't. And she was green eyes. She has a little bit of blue hue in her eyes.
Interesting.
But they're green. Yeah. She went full Moore on that one. Erin D.
Okay.
Moore.
She can... Zelda can do whatever she wants with her eyes.
Yeah. Oh, can I ask you about Zelda? Did we talk about the name Zelda? Is that a reflection of Zelda Fitzgerald? Or... Because I know another friend of mine, it was a middle name. And that was specifically her love of Zelda.
Yeah, I just, I picked the name out, and Jill was like, definitely not, and then eventually came around to it, and then really started to like it. And I think for me, it's traditional and a bit like Art Deco, the name, but it's also a little bit different and out there, and I feel like that just describes Jill and I as people, and... it was really important for me to have a name that was interesting, but that you could understand the first time you heard it. I didn't want her to be going through life saying, my name's Zazama, or whatever. Sorry,
Yeah.
What was that? Just every time. Not that Zazama's not a good name, and if your name is Zazama, more power to you, but...
Is that a name?
It is now. I don't know.
Someone's going to name their kid Zazama now.
But I really like the Z name. And,
I wanted
Jill
a Z name,
Jill
yeah.
really went along with me. I also named our dog Elmer. I'm just great at naming things, I guess.
Does Zelda have a middle name?
Her middle name is Ray, after Jill's grandfather.
Oh, very nice. Zelda Ray.
Yeah.
That's cool. I also say I wanted a Z name. And the idea... Well, the first one was Zoe, but spelled like what I later learned was Zoe Deschanel's name, which is named after Franny and Zoe, my favorite J.D. Salinger book. But I also wanted to name her Zevon, after Warren Zevon. Yeah, and funnily enough, Erin loved it. But only for a boy. So the idea was, in the last 11th hour, remember I told you about one last name. Erin said, you pick Zevon, it's Zevon Moore. If it's Scarlett, Erin wanted something that was quick, hard, like Scarlett with one T, so the color Scarlett.
Right.
She didn't want any flowery name or anything, again, that people would be like, because we were originally going to name her Anais, but then she didn't like the short Ani. And plus, everyone goes, Anais.
Right.
After Anais, and then. So anyway, naming's very important, man. That's it. The rest of our life.
I guess so.
Unless your name is Moon Unit, then you could change it to anything you want.
Or Elton John. Whatever his real name was.
Reginald Dwight.
Yeah, I'd change it.
Yeah, absolutely, in a minute. Yeah, but, Zelda Ray is really cool. So anyway, now on to, if we may, Why I Love Your Mom, Zelda's mom. The second song in a row in which Eric is using, in my way of thinking, a literary device to talk about how much Jill means to him through speaking to his daughter. Again, a narrative.
Right.
You're using a narrative form.
She is calm until she's not at all, and then she's crazier than anyone and falls apart like brisket from the bone. She speaks her mind and she is kind to animals and people who deserve her love.
The album's narration continues to speak to the songwriter's unborn little girl by communicating his love for her mom, as I just mentioned. A perfect back-to-back track listing and the segue into this, what I believe is kind of a Broadway-type musical number. I can tell Eric's been working on this kind of thing because you said in the last series of podcasts that you were working on perhaps a musical, and it definitely harkens back to this pre-rock and roll days. This tempo is kind of a Scott Joplin ragtime, has a French flavor. You know what I'm reminded of? I wrote down here in my little notes. I didn't want to do it, and then I had to look up the singer. Do you remember who Eileen Barton is?
No.
For the 1950s? She recorded a song called "If I Knew You Were Coming, I'd Have Baked a Cake."
I know the expression,
and it's got like this little. You know what I mean? It's kind of not quite jazz, not kind of, it's pre-rock and roll, so this is what it sounds like to me.
She is raw. She knocked her front teeth out 3 times and can't wait to tell anyone who'll listen long enough to see the pics. And she is brave and she's new wave and untraditional and loyal to her friends.
Each verse begins with "she is," an effective poetic device to begin to unravel the subject, but in this case, humorously or playfully by pointing out the many facets of the woman. And this is where I dropped the ball. We were lunching earlier, and I said to Eric, and I think I said it in the first podcast, in the making of podcast, that you were more humorous in the afterlife section.
right? Yeah,
But this has got some good humor to it.
well, again, going back to that point we made, then this is I'm in territory that I know for sure here. I'm explaining. This song is really a tribute to Jill, and I'm explaining her, and I know her, and so there's nothing. I can have a little more fun with it because there's a certain known quality to it, I guess, as I'm thinking about it now.
Well, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but this is how I got it. In the verses, you use descriptions like calm, then raw, loud, then funny, impatient. But in the choruses, they're driven home by things like lovely, strange, amazing, and beautiful.
Oh, and she is lovely, and she is strange. She's amazing in a way that can't be tamed. She knows where she belongs. She's herself and she is strong. That's why I love your mom.
So you go more traditional in the choruses where you're kind of playing with it. The final aspect of this judicious use of tense, as in she was beautiful and she is beautiful, drives this home. There is a loving deconstruction, a range of emotion through a portrait of the one who is loved, revealing also elements of the songwriter, as if a confession. What attracted her to him? Unpredictability and humor and volatility and bravery. These are the things that make up the woman and all of the women that we love. The people we love are, in a sense, an extension of ourselves, a subconscious completion of where we are bereft. We don't have these things, and hopefully they complete that for us. Providing a universal message of love in this very personal expression is another fantastic device, my friend.
Thank you.
I give you a lot of credit for that. I'm not sure I'm in the ballpark, but that's how I see it. It's like there's a lot of things that she is that maybe you don't have, and that's what you were saying in the last song. I hope she passes those things on to Zelda.
Yeah, and I think for this one, like I said, as a tribute to Jill, sort of the joke with Jill and I is that, like I've said before, Jill did not enjoy being pregnant at all, had a really difficult time, didn't feel like herself, and her normal self is very excitable and positive, and she would come home from work while pregnant and just be so miserable. And even getting her to like sit down and listen to this song as I was writing it was like a challenge, and she was sort of, the joke is sort of that like I was writing all these nice things about her, but she didn't feel like these things, and
hence the was and is.
I guess so, yeah. That part was important to me there, of the bridge of the song, and I love your mom because she gave me you, and it was hard on her, but she came through. She didn't feel much like herself because she carried someone else, and she was beautiful, and she is beautiful, and that felt like an important part if I was going to try to explain this person to our daughter. Of like, I mean, it's a hard thing in general to write a portrait of an entire person. I went kind of broad on this
in 3 minutes.
Yeah. But I actually think I captured her quite well, and I'm proud of this song.
And I love your mom because she gave me you. And it was hard on her, but she came through. She didn't feel much like herself because she carried someone else. And she was beautiful. And she is beautiful.
This song is definitely, to me, an example of the more specific you get, I actually think it makes the song more general in some ways. You know, like these are very specific things about Jill, like she knocked her front teeth out 3 times, which is true, and can't wait to tell anyone who will listen long enough to see the pics. And she loves that.
Ask next time.
Oh, she delights in showing people the pictures of her teeth knocked out.
Can you give me one of the times?
The last one was right before we started dating. She was at a party and she tripped and fell face first into a radiator.
Oh man!
Yeah, it's just, and that's the picture she likes to show people.
Oh, I don't want to see that actually.
Yeah, you don't. But at that point, her teeth were already fake, so they like shattered as soon as they hit the radiator. He's taking his glasses off. He can't handle it.
It's your head.
I hate it, and she loves bringing it up and telling people.
She's a tough kid, man.
But let's see, what was I going to say? She's very much herself most of the time, all the time probably. And that's sort of what I was trying to capture in this song. And I liked how specific it got, and I felt like the sort of run-on sentences of it, I felt like the song had to be an individual similar to the way that Jill is, It couldn't just be a straight... Like, I liked the run-on sentences and explaining things, and I liked the way the song came together, and it felt like Jill in the way I was writing it.
She is loud, but in a fun, endearing way that nobody could replicate or fabricate enough to be believed. And she is grand and in command and doesn't give a damn about what anybody else might think.
I do want to get to that bridge because I wrote about it, but at this point I jotted down something about Barry Stevenson's bass playing on this, which again I use the word sublime. It's expressive, so expressive, but not overly. It acts almost like a plucked cello or a counter speaking part to the vocal, and as the guitar is being lightly strummed, he's adding almost like a lead guitar, this cool little second melody to it.
He did a great job with this, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do the song solo or not. We gave it one try with him playing on it. I was like, oh, we have to do it this way. He was playing it he called it a McCartney-esque bass line.
Yes.
And it adds a lot to the song. It gives it sort of this, again, it sort of takes it to another level. He takes this musicianship of it and makes it not just this guy playing his guitar, but it's like a concert, it's a recital. We're performing this song.
And he just kind of added that in, and you were like, you know what, that has to be in there. That's how it happened.
Well, I was like, let's try it together, I think. And then in the rehearsals, we did it one time. I was like, perfect, we'll make it happen.
She is funny. She loves photography and guarantees and possibilities and pasta pomodoro in the sun. And she is chic and so unique and can wear clothing that nobody else quite could.
And what was also cool was Barry had just had a son a few months before
That's right.
this.
He said he was getting no sleep.
Yeah, and his wife brought the baby in, and so they were actually in the studio while we were recording this song, listening to it, his wife and his new baby. And I remember when we finished recording it, his wife said... And that's the sirens, the New York sirens.
Yes.
Sorry, let me finish my great story here.
So she brought the kid.
So Barry, her name escapes me right now, but Barry's wife came into the studio and we finished playing the song and she was in there listening and we stopped and there was sort of that silence at the end of a performance and she said, "I'm not crying, you're crying." And that's where I felt like, the song's doing what it was supposed to do, because I don't know if any of this stuff describes her, but it felt like this thing of everybody is special and different, and and multifaceted. That was the other thing that was important for me in this song. Is I get about as like tender as you can get in the bridge, and then I don't know if we're going to get to that later, but the last verse is then comical again, kind of, but also a very big part of her personality.
Yes,
so.
Of course, you can't leave it out. The last bit I would say about Barry, and that's a great story. When you go back and listen to the whole song, please, listeners, try to absorb how he answers certain lines, as if he's commentating on them.
Yeah, he's really finding the holes in the melody and filling them in a nice way. And in that song we did, just the two of us in the studio together, and it was a lot of fun. I don't even think I was wearing headphones even. I think we were just in there making the music together, and it was a fun one to do.
Oh, and she is lovely, and she is strange. She's amazing in a way that can't be tamed. She knows where she belongs. She's herself and she is strong. That's why I love your mom.
Okay, so getting onto the bridge, which you have just recited, it acts as a lyrical underlining to the ode, as it finally changes the pleasantly strummed tempo to play open chords and bring in the child to the equation, another wonderfully crafted device to change the mood and give it a third tier. It really kind of breaks the fourth wall, in the playwright speak, when he takes the time again with the bass buzzing beneath like a cello to express the beauty of Zelda's mom, and bringing the tense changes, as I spoke about before. It warms to the silences here. In other words, there are moments where nothing is played or nothing is expressed. What Miles Davis used to cite as paramount. The notes that you don't play maybe are the most important ones.
Right.
Then, just when you have time to contemplate it, she's impatient. He gets right back into that's where the comedy comes in. For me, the humor of it. Because you're impatient because you made us wait just a few beats. That dramatic pause, which I found funny because, you had this laid-back part, and then it goes into referencing her very human frailties and quirks, reducing the moment to pure imagination about her regal nature as a mom, the way you did with, the Queen reference for Zelda. And this is the woman that you married and have lived with and have loved through all of it. And I think that's where the bridge really, and then going into that last verse, works. Not just on a lyrical, but you're taking us on an emotional, visceral journey with the music.
Yeah.
2 instruments. Pretty impressive.
I thank you for all that. I appreciate it. I'll just say I'm very proud of this song, and like I said, I think I did capture my wife well, and I really liked the idea of the song of like explaining mom, explaining who she is to our daughter,
She's impatient. Don't wanna be on the other end of the phone if she's got a customer dispute she can't resolve. She gets obsessed and sometimes stressed when worrying she can't chase everything she loves.
And I can't remember, I was just looking, there's an earlier lyric at the end. I love this little change that you put in there that I noticed. She's herself, I think you said, and she is strong, or maybe something else?
So that's what I normally said, yeah. She's herself and she is strong, and this time I say at the very end, the turnaround, she's herself and she's this song. Which I went back and forth on, because I don't actually like when songs reference themselves as songs, usually.
But you've already broke the fourth wall here. You're
That's
talking
true.
to your daughter, now you're talking directly to your wife, and now
it just felt like
us.
it was hanging there, and it made total sense, and why not just go for it? But it's also like, yes, this is her in a nutshell,
Right, it was like Alanis Morissette finally said, this is the guy I'm talking about.
Right.
Dylan was like, Mr. Jones is this guy.
Yeah, right, exactly.
No, not at all. I think it's a cute little, you really have to pay attention to it. She is herself, but she's this song.
Oh, but she is lovely, and she is strange. She's amazing in a way that can't be tamed. She knows where she belongs. She's herself and she's the song. That's why I love your mom. That's why I love your mom. That's why I love your mom.
Yeah, she's herself and she's this song.
And this song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was...
I absolve you of the guilt of, you really did paint over that, huh?
I mean, yeah, in that way that sort of any lyricist can appreciate, it's the one wrong word and the whole thing's screwed up. But I stand by the idea. I think it was fun and it just made sense. And it's true. This is, like I said, a portrait of her. It's as close as you can get to like a portrait of somebody.
Right, and if I may say again, I said at the very top when we were talking about the making of the record, there's nothing in here that is done flowery or dramatically. These songs are straightforward, so why not just say what you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of the fact that these are very straightforward songs and I'm saying what I want to say. It's just in that way of like having your journal read aloud afterwards or something. It's like exactly what I wanted to say, but it's still a little bit, it's vulnerable. And I appreciate people listening to the music and coming along on the journey. And I hope that these songs reflect on your own life and that you're liking them.
In a way, it's kind of like Hands on the last record. There's something very personal, straight to the bone, and also very... You only play the acoustic on Hands, and here you're just stewing the bass. And
just to talk about that a little bit, that's why it was important to me to have some instrumentation on this song. Hands, it was important to me. This is a song about from my dad's point of view, struggling with myotonic muscular dystrophy. That song was about being alone in a lot of ways,
right.
And then there was the sort of the second level of like I was playing his guitar. So like that song, I've never done a song where it was just me. I don't think it was important to like. There was a certain loneliness to that song that I think it made sense. But this song, I really loved what Barry brought to it. That it made it more of a piece, and not just a lonely song.
Right. Well, that's more.
It brought some company. It's a duet.
Right, in a way, yeah. And, that's a good point. And it's a more upbeat, it's a sweeter sense. It's very intense Hands. There's frustration in there, that there's also hope. And it's great stuff. But again, when you strip it down like this, it takes you out of the rest of the side, and it gives it its own space on the record. So, another well-done song.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking about these so honestly. Seriously.
Thanks for asking.
Oh, but she is lovely, and she is strange. She's amazing in a way that can't be tamed. She knows where she belongs. She's herself and she is the song. That's why I love your mom. That's why I love your mom. That's why I love your mom.